Indiana 83, Penn State 78. The Hoosiers had to earn this one at Assembly Hall. This was not handed to them. Penn State led at halftime. Penn State led with 10 minutes left. Penn State looked like the better basketball team for large stretches of this game. But every time they created some separation, every time Penn State got out to like a 3, 4 point lead, Indiana had a response within 1 to 2 possessions. Umar Ballo, for all the jokes made at his expense all season long, this game was a great reminder that Umar Ballo is one of the best bigs in the country, regardless of how motivated, out of shape, whatever you want. There's a reason teams wanted to pay for this dude. 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. He played 36 minutes. He basically didn't come off the floor, and he just kind of physically dominated Niederhauser in a way we haven't seen many bigs in the country do. You got 16 and 9 assists from Trey Galloway in this game. Miles Rice, 13 points off the bench. Luke Goody hit 2 threes, 10 points. Indiana has come together and has a real identity as a team for the first time all season as Mike Woodson is on his way out. And it's honestly really enjoyable to watch. This team's now on the right side of the bubble in terms of NCAA tournament discussions. And Penn State looks headed for the exit here. I don't think they're going to qualify for the Big Ten tournament, Dion. What's your takeaway from this one?
Um, Couple takeaways. I'm about to show myself with this first one, and I'm okay with that. I don't know if they debuted that Miles Rice like on the bench with the super big lineup against Purdue, but that was the first time I saw it. I loved it against Purdue, loved it even more against Penn State. I think that lineup is basically you just hey, we're not gonna be able to shoot anyway. So like let's play a little defense, let's be bigger than them and let's get layups. And that's just playing to your team. And I love that. And I feel like the biggest difference Indiana's shown lately, like since Mike Woodson kind of fired himself, I guess, is that he's just like, hey, I'm gonna play to what I got. I'm done with like, hey, we paid you X amount of money to come here. If you aren't like supposed to be on the court performance wise, like you're not anymore. And I think that's helping them a ton. It's like you said, it's giving them an identity. 3 NCAA tournament bids in 4 years for Woody. I mean, they got to discuss an extension, I feel like.
I mean, that's the joke everybody's making, right? Yeah, we'll see where this goes. So no Malik Renew in this game, so it wasn't fully the too big thing, but I hear your point. Like Woodson has essentially been, I don't know, he's kind of like just leaned in, I think, to like Balo's gonna have to be great for us, and oh, if I have to bench Mbako or Rice, it doesn't matter. And I think that has worked. Now, Balo's had some stinkers in the last month too, but he is still a physically dominant player. And I think when you do surround him with the shooters that they put on the floor in this game, the sky is the limit for this Indiana team, even if it still feels a little gross and you don't want to trust it. Maybe you should. The big thing in this game, which I will be completely honest to Indiana fans watching this, it is entirely unsustainable. But give them credit for doing it in this game. They shot 10 for 15 from three. How many times is Indiana going to shoot 67% from three? They win a game by 5 at home against the worst team in the Big Ten on a night where they shoot 67% from three. But again, give players credit for doing it. Like Trey Galloway hit 4 out of 5 threes. He was huge in this game. And a lot of these threes, again, were threes that were needed at the point in the game where Penn State kept creating separation. And Indiana would just respond with the big shot every time. It was really impressive to watch.
I would agree. I mean, they're obviously not going to shoot 10 and 15 from three. But I like that the number of attempts is getting lower. Like they didn't start making threes and start launching threes up just because they were hot in this game. You know, like they easily could have been 67% and been like, well, we have to shoot 33s this game because we're on fire. They stuck to their identity, like you said. So I mean, it's not sustainable, the performance that they put up. Um, but like I think there's an element of this identity being somewhat sustainable for them for the rest of the year. And I mean, let's just like I'm in no way, shape, or form comparing Umar Ballo to Zach Edey, but I think if there's anything Purdue taught us, it's that hey, if you have a really, really good player, regardless of position, you probably don't want to play that team in the tournament. And I think Indiana, I don't know what seed they're necessarily going to be in the tournament, but if they're a let's say a 9 through 12 seed type of team, I don't think that's a 9 through 12 seed that you want to play.
Yeah, I mean they have some top end talent that matches some much better teams in the NCAA tournament, that's for sure. But yeah, it's just been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch this group, especially because like Goody and Galloway. I don't know. Galloway's obviously had like, does he care? Does he not stuff? Is he a good leader? Is he not? You got to give him credit at this point as the season has gone on. Galloway's play on the court has backed up that he really is like a vet that cares about finishing his career on top. And Goody has obviously meant a ton culturally to this group. Um, but I like watching a group of Goody, Galloway, and Leal. Those guys care. They give you good minutes. They're each playing 30 minutes right now and it forces the others. Like between Rice, Mbako, and Balo, one of them's almost getting squeezed out every game, and it forces accountability on them to come in and actually play hard. And I thought you got Balo at his best in this game. Mbako and Rice actually gave you some effort stuff that isn't always there, and it was fun to see. Two broad questions for me on this before we get out of here. What is the ceiling for Indiana at this point? They're now 17-11. We think they're going to make the NCAA tournament as long as they don't just lose out the rest of the way. They have to go at Washington and Oregon, so that's not like this is their West Coast trip. It's not exactly the easiest thing to do. But let's say they split those games and then beat Ohio State at home. I think they're firmly in the NCAA tournament at this point. What's the ceiling for them once they get there?
I mean, obviously some of it's like this is going to sound extreme, and I do want to like say like if they get matched up in like Duke or Auburn's bracket, I don't know if I necessarily believe this. I think this could be a second weekend team though. I don't think it's like crazy far fetched like to say that. Like if they get the right matchup, talent wise, they match up with anybody in the country outside maybe like the top 5 to 10 teams. Um, in terms of individual talent. And if they're playing together the way they've been playing together lately, that's the team that we thought they were going to be when we spoke about them in August, September, October. And if we're getting that version of them, I think they can make a Sweet 16.
It sounds insane, but there is no reason this team can't make a second weekend. And they just are playing like they don't give a shit anymore, right? Like Woodson knows he's done, so I'm giving this everything I've got just to go out with a bang. The players, I think, have oddly rallied around a guy it seemed like they didn't care about for much of the season. And I don't know, it's a weird dynamic, but we have seen this happen in NCAA history before, where teams rally around a coach that is either on his way out or something's going wrong. And they've been completely different. I'm really impressed with it for sure. I looked this up, by the way. Bart Torvik, just in the last month and a half, Indiana's been better than Michigan per Torvik. Michigan's tied for the Big Ten race right now in the top of the standings. Indiana's been a better team analytically than Michigan in that span, and just seems crazy. Maybe you should give them a little more credit. On the flip side, I'm going to ask this about Penn State. I don't know how many people actually care about Penn State, but this was a team a lot of people liked in the beginning of the season when they beat Purdue. It felt like they were going to be an NCAA tournament team, middle of the pack type team. And I look at this team. Ace Baldwin's a senior, Zach Hicks a senior, Nick Kern, DeMarco Dunn are seniors. You've got Niederhauser, who was great this year. You've got DeLeon, who's a sophomore. But like you're basically doing a hard reset here if you're Mike Rhodes, and you're probably going to finish 500 or a little worse. Where do you go as a program if you're Penn State here?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I think I mean, this team hasn't been very good. So I don't think you fear losing everybody. Just, I mean, you're a 500 team, right? So I think you kind of embrace like, hey, everybody's gone. Let me hit the portal and let me bring a bunch of my own dudes in. And I think you just have to frame it just like that. Is it actually what's probably going to happen? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's going to be able to pull off. But I think if you just spin it just like that, you go into the transfer portal feeling confident in the culture you're trying to establish, I think it'll work out okay for him.
I think that's the issue for me. You talk about like go get your guys. This is year two of Ace Baldwin. Ace Baldwin played for Mike Rhodes at VCU. He is the Rhodes guy.
Yeah.
And you compare it to like what Shrewsbury was able to do at Penn State. Year two of Jalen Pickett was the breakout year. We saw strides and a leap. Penn State last season was 16 and 17. This season they're 15 and 14 right now. It's essentially been the same season. Misery in Big Ten play. You're not good enough. Ace Baldwin didn't take any steps. He's the same guy he was last year. And I think that is an indictment on Rhodes to some extent. He's going to have to hard reset, press a button. And if anything in the last decade has taught us about Penn State as a program. It's not an easy place to rebuild year over year. This was a veteran core that was supposed to be better than this, and they're not. And if I were a Penn State fan, I would basically lose all faith in Mike Rhodes at this point, which is sad to say, but I don't know where you go from here. So
Football school.
yeah,
Football
right.
school.
Just lean in. You made a big run. Let's lean into that. All right, congrats to Indiana. Tip of the cap to Woody, who owns my co-host Carter Elliott.